Hey coaches, welcome to the coaching call. This is Andrika J. Austin. I go by Coach AJ for short. So excited to have you here and thank you for taking time out to participate in what's going to help take your business to the next level with the power of finding new coaching clients at networking events. This is a topic that will help you skyrocket what you thought you knew about networking. I know I've learned a lot, and I'm going to share some tips and tools with you from that. Before we dive in, let me let you know that we have an upcoming personal life coach certification class live in Atlanta, Georgia, coming up very soon. If you are someone you know wants to become certified as a life coach or follow in the footsteps of a great life coach, go over to fastcoachtraining.com or send them there, www.fastcoachtraining.com, to get more information and get signed up. And remember, we give referral fees when you send people to us once you've been through the training yourself. So keep that in mind, and let's go ahead and dive into our coaching conversation. So we're talking about 3 ways to get coaching clients from networking events. And as a coach, I know that you may think you know it all when it comes to where to get clients, but let me tell you, networking is essential and you can definitely benefit from attending events. And I'm going to share with you one of the big additional expert networking idea that I discovered not too long ago. So I'm sure by now that you realize how essential, again, networking is to build your coaching business. But do you realize that you can also build your coaching clientele as you build your social network at the same time? Now, this is a social network of future and potential friendships who, of course, turn into clients. So there are many new coaches that I meet, and they have the fear that a lot of us have when it comes to getting out from behind our computer screen and attending live events. And that's the fear of networking and or public speaking. So these in-person networking events, of course, you have to talk to strangers. But if you look at it differently and consider that these potential strangers could either lead you to your next customer or be a lead as a next customer or coaching client. So with the right mindset about networking offline, because I know I've seen a lot of even digital networking events, but when you, again, leave your computer, leave your house, maybe even leave your city and go to these live networking events, this is considered networking offline. And you do this once you identify a good networking event and a good networking environment. You can kick that lack of confidence to the curb and you can start building your coaching client roster and, of course, your business bank account. I know that's what most coaches coach for, right? So, for example, let's say you're a career coach and you may benefit from attending an open networking event for executives in industry professionals. So no specific industry, just professionals, networkers. They're in suits, they're in ties, they're in skirts and heels. They're there ready to talk professional business because they're executives. And these are your type of coaching clients, ideally. And so at this event, you just never know who you might meet or who you may even start a conversation with, and they're considering a career upgrade or a shift. So let's say we're going to stick with this executive coaching idea for a moment. And at this event, you attend, you meet these industry professionals, they're executives, they're in the C-suite, however you say that. But if this is your lingo, you know what I'm talking about. So at this event, you have a conversation, maybe a topic of like a company merger develops from a conversation that you're having. And it's with a group of people, and all of a sudden their job may disappear or there may be new opportunities that open up. And so you kind of eavesdrop and overhear this conversation and you join in, you introduce yourself, you tell them that you're an executive career coach and you're just listening in, you're adding value, you're giving good ideas, you're giving some advice, and you realize, wait a minute, I may be able to help at least one person in this group, but that's not your moment to jump in. So again, you're chatting, you're listening, you're giving advice. Again, you're listening. Key tip for coaches, right? So a lot of networking events will even maybe have some wine, something to just relax you. So hopefully you got your glass of wine, and again, you're talking and you're taking notes. So let's put it like that. You're talking and you're taking notes. And at this point, no business cards have been exchanged, or they're not you're not in a place where you're skimming the crowd or you're trying to see how many people you can meet or the person that you're talking to or the group of people that you may be talking to about this upcoming merger, they're not racing off in an attempt to meet every person in the room either. So it's the moment in the conversation where you all get to go around the table and you share a bit more about what you do in your respective professions. And then you, again, start getting a few new ideas on how your coaching may be of service to them. But again, this is not where you make your move. You want to take a moment and ask for their cards. Now, I do this a lot at networking events where I don't collect cards, but if I'm interested in talking further with the person, I will ask for their card. And then you offer your card, but not just because they gave you theirs. This is hint. Let me repeat this. You take a moment to ask for their cards. That signifies something, and I'll get to that in a minute. But you only offer your card if they request your card. You don't give someone your card just because they gave you theirs. That's not how networking works. And that's where a lot of people make a mistake. But again, you're different. You have a different strategy. So if they request your card, you give it to them because that shows that they're interested in you and you're interested in them. That's where the relationship begins. So because you've been in this conversation with this group of people, you've seen how you could help them, you've listened, you've taken notes as you sipped on your glass of wine, and now you have their business card and you've built that instant rapport because you knew what to speak their language with. You knew the word merger and company acquisition and career up leveling and upgrades and positions. You knew what to say in that conversation. So now you're really inspired. And it gets to a point in the evening where, okay, now it's time to say your goodbyes. This is where things start to shift. Now, remember, you've already got their card. If they ask for yours, they have yours too, but you don't want to just rely on them maybe reaching out. This is where the paradigm shift begins. Now, you're smart. You're a savvy networker. You've listened to coaching calls like this. You were not at that event with any selfish motives. You did not make that event out to be a marathon of collecting cards or shoving out your own cards. You were smart and you came with a strategy. You knew that going into this event, your objective, I've repeated several times, was to be a good listener as well as a good conversationalist. Now, by the way, these are the top 2 most important networking tips you will ever need. Go in knowing that you're going to listen and you're going to talk, or we said talk and take notes. Now, also going in, you also remembered reading somewhere about how everyone has these 3 things in common. And those 3 things are a past, a present, and a future. Let me say that again. No matter where you are, no matter what networking event you're at, everyone has these 3 things in common: a past, a present, and a future. And what that means is when you implement that into your conversation, you're instantly able to make a connection. And you were smart at that networking event, so that's what you did as that executive career coach. So this turned out to be one of the most successful networking events you've ever attended so far in your coaching career. And then you realized that the number one thing that stops most people from even attending networking events is fear. But you're not going to let fear hold you back, and you did not. So pat yourself on the back because you went out to this event. So not only did you go, but you went with a networking strategy. And a part of that strategy includes following up. So remember when you asked for business cards, that instantly put you in charge of the follow-up. Remember when you weren't just going to throw your business card out expecting someone to call you? You're now going to take the lead by sending more information. This is when you make your move. This is your time to shine. Now, what that means is next you're going to block out at least an hour over the next 3 days, or let's say 72 hours. I usually give myself to follow up. And you'll send like a nice to meet you email, but not your typical spammy nice to meet you email that really just, spams people with every way that they can work with you. No, you're going to send something along the lines of, "Hey, Bob, it was so nice chatting with you about the upcoming merger at XYZ company and how that may mean a shift in your position. I did a case study with a recent executive coaching client of mine, and I would like to share that with you and set up a time to chat more about the shifts that he was able to make before his company made the changes." Now, keep in mind, we're in this email. You're not making it all about you. You're making it about Bob, who you're emailing. You're showing him some studies that you've done with fellow coaching clients, which shows him that you have experience in doing this thing successfully, what he's getting ready to go through with the shift in his company. And then you're letting him know that you're sharing that success that you were able to help another coaching client with, and offering a time to chat more about it and about the shifts that your client was able to make and how his income increased as a result of a few simple techniques that he implemented right away before the company changed. Give me a call at enter your phone number here, or simply reply to this email with what time on Monday works best for you after 2 p.m. Looking forward to connecting more and hearing about your plans to shift as your position shifts soon. And that's it. Really simple, really sweet first step in the follow-up process, because Bob gave you his card, you have his contact information, and you have experience working with someone who has been in his situation. This is where your expertise as a coach is kicking in. Now, I'm using this example for a career coach because it's the first thing that came to mind, but implement your coaching expertise in that scenario, that ideal networking event, that ideal environment where you're not imposing on people, but you have a system for follow-up to introduce who you really are and to show them what you're working with as a coach. And then you're giving him a time to choose to chat with you on a date that works for you. So notice I threw out Monday after 2. That means that Bob is going to now look at his calendar and see when he can meet with you if he's really interested. Now, keep in mind, he would have been one of the people who also asked for your card after you asked for his. Hopefully, this is getting you to thinking differently about networking. So that's just a quick follow-up email that continues the conversation that you began during the networking event that you originally considered not even going to because you had to leave the house, right? So even if your new connection, Bob, doesn't follow through, it's okay. Now remember, you were there to potentially gain a new client. Your next step, which is step number 2 in the follow-up process, would be to reach out with something like a postcard. And most traditional business cards, the one Bob gave you, they have at least a mailing address on it, or you may be able to Google his company and find his mailing address and just make sure you put it attention, Bob, and his last name. So people love getting things in the mail, especially at their office. So you, as this executive career coach, you have found Bob's mailing address for the company. You've sent out a postcard with his attention on it, and now he has something in his hand that he can relate to you. Now, you've taken the time with this cute little postcard, and I've done this several times. I had to learn how to do it actually at a networking event. This was a skill that was taught where you simply handwrite the same email that you sent a few days later or a few days earlier. Include a little personal note, maybe something, again, from the conversation that you had at the networking event, and then mail it out, but don't just mail it out randomly. Mail it out around a special occasion. Let's say Bob's 1-year anniversary with his job, or an upcoming business anniversary, or a birthday, or something he may be celebrating at the job. Tie it into the job, what you do and what Bob does as well. And usually these special dates, like a birthday or an anniversary, can easily be found on your person's contact social media page. Now, you've already sent a request to connect with them, right? So as soon as you get the card, and I've done this at events, you send requests to connect to make sure that even if you lose that card, you have already connected with that person. Now you're finding out their birthday, their anniversary, whatever they're celebrating, and you're going to send them out a special card saying, oh, by the way, happy birthday, happy anniversary, happy business anniversary. And once you do this, a certain amount of time for a certain amount of people, think about doing this 10 times for 10 different people. Don't you think that at least one of those will become a client because you paid enough attention to connect with them on social media? You found a date that was special to them. You sent them not 1, but 2 follow-ups in the form of an email and now a postcard. And you're telling them that you have something that they may be interested in, which is a case study of showing your coaching skills for how you've helped your client gain results and how you can do the same for them, but don't pressure. And if they want to talk more, you've given them a date and the time that they can choose from. Now, to me, this sounds like a coaching conversation gone right. So again, once you repeat this process over and over again, you've won the hearts and the attention of that potential future client. And this is where you start to book more clients. So now you're going to get Bob on the phone. You're going to set a time to talk. One thing will lead to another after the networking event. And because you've gotten a response, you're also going to put some of the other coaching tips that we've shared in previous coaching calls. You're going to put them into action and start that communication process which starts the sales process. And again, this all took place just because you attended a networking event. And this relationship is going to be mutually beneficial for you, for Bob. He's going to become a success story. He's going to become that new client that you tell the next new client about because you were able to help him get those results. So when you look at what you're able to offer, when you tie it in with what the networking event offers, when you match it up with the ideal environment, that's how you know it's an event worth going to. But again, you have to come in with a strategy, which is to listen or to take notes and to talk, to be a part of the conversation, not just go and just spray your business cards and hope someone will call you. So make sure that you are planning to be successful. Don't just go to a networking event just for the sake of going for one. If you're a coach, you want to make sure that you are putting it out there, that you are there to network, and then you're following up. Kind of go in stealth mode, knowing that you're a networking ninja and you're going to work this, and someone there is there for you. They're meant to be your client, but you're going to do so without being pushy. You're not going to be overbearing. Okay. So make sure that this is what you're using. This is a strategy you're using, and you're becoming resourceful. Because imagine if Bob hires you and you help him get results. How many other executives that you met at that event or who work with Bob are going to see these results as a result of your coaching, and they're going to be interested too. So again, you took the charge. You took the lead in that follow-up process, even if Bob didn't respond to that first email, but you took that part and you kept it moving. So that's one part of the networking routine that most people slip up. Follow-up is one of the biggest mistakes that people make because they usually don't follow up. And I've even noticed that a lot of people at networking events make a lot of promises. Oh, I'm going to do this, or we're going to do this. And again, they do not follow up. But when you do networking right, when you have a technique, when you have a strategy, it works. So I'm going to share a quick story about how this worked recently for me in my coaching practice. And then I'm going to come to the phone lines and take some questions if you have them. And then Facebook Live. Hey, Jennifer Taylor, thanks for joining. If you have questions on Facebook Live, go ahead and put it in the discussion wherever you are listening to this, whether it's the replay or live. Just look for that discussion box and put your questions there, even if it's after the coaching call, and I'll be happy to engage in the dialogue with you. So I remember going to a networking event here in the Atlanta area not too long ago, and mistakenly I overbooked myself. And what that meant was the networking event that I was on my way to, it took an hour for me to get there. Now remember, I mentioned sometimes you have to leave your city, especially if you're looking for a different crowd. If you're tired of seeing the same people, you want a more upscale environment, sometimes you have to get out of your hometown. So I had an hour drive. And what I didn't realize was that I also booked myself for a podcast interview that same day during that same time of the networking event. Once I realized that, after I got to the event, I made my hour trip, I sat in the parking lot, I actually took the time to do the podcast interview sitting in my car. And I let the interviewer know that I was sitting in my car outside of a networking event, but I was there with a purpose, because everything I just shared with you on this coaching call, I was ready to put into practice. And so I did the interview. We wrapped up. When I got inside of the networking event, we only had about 30 minutes left. And I said, look, I did not drive an hour, sit in my car and do this interview to come in here and not meet anyone, because I'm a social butterfly when I want to be. And I go and I meet the people that I need to meet. So I knew some good stuff was coming from this event, and I only had 30 minutes to watch it unfold. So I don't know where this came from. I'll just say it was God, because I know I'm not this creative. So this idea just instantly popped into my mind to walk up to the first person I seen. They had been there for the 2-hour event. I had that last 30 minutes, and I said, hey, my name is AJ. I'm a business coach here in the Metro Atlanta area. What's your name? And so we started talking. She introduced herself, and I said, so tell me, who is the most interesting person that you think would be a great connection for me tonight, since I only have about, 29 minutes left. And I want to meet some people. I want to know who's here. I want to know that my trip and my visit here was not in vain. So that started a domino effect. The first person introduced me to another person, and before long, about 10 minutes into the next conversation, I was being tapped on the shoulder saying, hey, you're AJ, the business coach, right? I heard I should meet you. And so it went from me not knowing anyone to me asking who I should know to other people coming to me to say, hey, I'm the person you should know. So by the end of the night, which was only less than 30 minutes later, I was having a conversation with a $10,000 coaching client who was giving me a brand new idea on what she wanted me to coach her on. That's the power of networking, and that's the power of going in with the plan, with the strategy, and of course with following up to make it happen. So hopefully this inspired you to check yes on that next invite you get to attend a live networking event. Make sure it meets the goals that you have for your coaching business, which of course is to get new clients. But what type of new clients? Is it a new executive coaching client, a new life coaching client, a new business coaching client, a new book coaching client? What do you coach around? And how does that event line up with your coaching goals? Because you never know. Your next 5-figure client could be standing in that networking event as well. So hopefully everything I shared with you tonight is relatable in some way, and you can apply at least one of the tips from the examples I have given, the stories I've shared, and showed you how to grow your coaching business through networking events by paying attention to the tips that I shared. So guys, what are your questions? I'm going to go to the phone lines and open those up for Q&A. And if you're on our conference line tonight and you have a question, just press *6 and you will be placed in queue. Give me one moment to open that up for you. All right, Q&A session has started. Again, press *6 on the conference line. You'll be placed in queue. What question do you have about networking in order to find coaching clients and grow your coaching business? And Facebook Live, what questions do you have about networking that I can answer for you within our next few moments together? I'll give you guys just a few more moments to jump in if there's something you want to ask. All right, guys. So I don't see anyone in queue on our conference line. I want to thank you once again for joining. Facebook Live, you're quiet too, and it's okay because I mentioned that after the call is no longer live, make sure if you have questions, you go ahead and you put them inside of the discussion box. All right, guys, so we're going to go ahead and wrap up the call. I want to leave you with this one thing. There is someone somewhere waiting on you to walk in your destiny so that they can walk into theirs. Because it's when you let your light shine, you give others permission to do the same. I'm Andrika J. Austin, Coach AJ for short, the Networking Ninja. So excited to share this information with you, and hopefully it blesses your business. Until we meet again, my friends, this time next week, I'll see you soon. God bless.